what's up everybody? Daniel Kaiser here at E3 2010 talking about Enslaved Odyssey to the West with Tameem, the creative director on the game. First and foremost, those who saw it on GTTV know that it debuted not too long ago, but you're taking a deeper look at the game here at E3. Thanks for joining us. Tell us what this game is all about, Tameem.
Well, when I was doing research for Heavenly Sword, our last game, I came across this novel called Journey to the West, a 400-year-old Chinese novel, and it's actually been adapted many, many times, like Dragon Ball Z is based on it. Jamie Hewlett and Damon Albarn from Gorillaz did an opera based on it a couple of years back, and we wanted to do our own version because it's such a rich story. Whereas the book's based on ancient China, we've loosely adapted it into a post-apocalyptic future with the two principal characters, Monkey and Trip. You play Monkey, and you're tied to Trip, whether you like it or not. And it's all about them two going through this really dangerous landscape, trying to get out of there, really.
So talk a little bit about the objectives with the gameplay. You're tied to this other character, and we'll see here in just a minute how that all plays out. But what does that bring to the table that's unique for fans of this genre?
Well, I mean, one of my favorite games of old was Another World on the Amiga, also called Out of This World, I think. And there you play the principal character, and you've got this weird alien that helps you along. And it was really emotional and strong. And we kind of did a bit of that in Heavenly Sword with Noriko and Kai. And so I thought the next step would be to really kind of make that dramatically the core of the game, so that there's this other character that you really care about, you know. And but also in gameplay terms, it's not just your standard go in there as a hero and kill everything. You've now got to think about how do I get this other character across. So it brings to the table a lot more brains, you know. It's more challenging. You've got to think about how you're going to get through things. So it's not just pure action like Heavenly Sword was.
Excellent. All right, well, let's take a look at the game in action right now. Obviously, beautiful environments you've set up here. Walk us through what we're seeing on the screen.
So this is Monkey and Trip. They've just crash landed. They were both trapped on a slave ship. They both escaped. They didn't know each other. She escaped through her cunning because she's a hacking expert. He escaped just through sheer brute force and strength. And they bring down the ship into New York, and she sticks this slave headband on his head and says, and reprograms it so that he has to do everything she says. And it's also rigged so that if she dies, he dies. Basically, she needs a bodyguard to take her home. And this is the first time you emerge into New York. And these mechs that are around, they're like landmines. You know, they're left over from a previous war, and if you get near them, they trigger, they wake up, and they kill. So in this scene, Monkey tells Trip, okay, when I give you the signal, you go back, okay? And she's too scared at this point to deal with it. So you've got to go in and fighting. And your main attack is your telescopic staff, true to the original story. And so there's a full combat system. Combat's about a third of the game, I'd say.
And talk a little bit about their relationship and how, I mean, obviously, what was the biggest challenge in making sure that that relationship plays out smoothly and that it's, you know, not something that hinders the gameplay and the flow of it?
Yeah, so there's two aspects. There's a gameplay side. You don't want Trip to be a burden. And as you go through the journey, you start, she becomes more and more useful. She uses her hacking abilities so that she can do things like if there's a ranged mech with a machine gun, she can create decoys that they'll shoot at and allows the Monkey to flank them. She can upgrade your equipment, she can administer health, and she can scan the mechs in the environment so you can see where their activation radiuses are, and it helps you overcome obstacles that you weren't able to overcome. And then on the story side, it's just an interesting story because they don't really like each other to begin with. And slowly, as they start to build this teamwork, dramatically they start to shift. In Heavenly Sword, we had very, really over-the-top kind of theatrical performances because we didn't know whether we could do realistic facial expressions. Now that we know we can do that, with Alex Garland, the scriptwriter on board, who wrote 28 Days Later and Sunshine the Beach, we can focus much more on the intent behind the characters. So, you know, usually in a game, what the characters say is pretty much it. But here there's more of a subtext. So you should be able to switch off the volume and even lip read what they're saying and also see what they're thinking. And I think that helps bring, you know, my ambition was always to bring games to a level that compares to cinema in terms of storytelling.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, in the environments and the color palette and everything you've chosen to do with this game graphically, it doesn't really look like a post-apocalyptic type of game, which is unique, which is really interesting. Tell us about that as the creative director, why you went that route.
I think several reasons. I mean, I grew up on a lot of comics. I grew up in Spain and France and England, and a lot of these old comics had a lot of color in them. A lot of them actually ended up in Heavy Metal magazine way back. Also the works of like Miyazaki, where the world is really rich and colorful. I just think why not? Like, we can display any color in the world on these machines. Why do we have to settle for gray and brown all the time? But from a story point of view, I think it gives quite a bittersweet feeling, because you've got this beautiful world, but it's very dangerous. And that's something Alex told me, is always play with expectations, always create contrasts. It just makes it feel richer, more interesting.